Hey guys, this is Miss Smith. I'm going to do the Q43 review with you this week. So let's go ahead and look at the Monday column. All right, so on this one, we know that this very first box here is always going to be our list of words that we're using for the week. So we have Democrat, rupture, plutocrat, temporary, chronometer, reduce, solitary, monotone, bankrupt, quadruple, deduction, and pedometer. All right, so in that next box, it says which word means someone who believes in rule by the people. So remember, you are using this first box right here, looking for a word from that list. So I know that if I'm looking for someone who believes in rule by the people, that would be the word Democrat. Okay, the next one is a label the parts of speech question. So our sentence is the wild fox went through the forest and over the hills. Okay, so I have several underlined words here. My first one is the word wild. I know that the word wild is describing a fox. So any word that describes a noun is going to be an adjective. Next one is swiftly. So swiftly is describing the word ran. However, unlike the word wild, describing fox, which is a noun, it's describing ran, which is a verb. So we know if a word is describing a verb, that makes it an adverb. Through is our next one. Well, we know that through would be one of those prepositions because it's telling us through the forest. This whole thing right here would be our prepositional phrase. So the forest would be the object of our preposition, through, because it's telling us where he's running through. Okay, next we have the word and. We know that and is a conjunction. Next one is the word over. So similarly to through, over is going to be a preposition because our prepositional phrase would be over the hills. So we are saying where he went over. The object would be hills. So you should have wild as an adjective, swiftly is an adverb, through is a preposition, and a conjunction, over is a preposition. All right, next box. Correct the sentence by adding commas. The soccer player was quick, agile, and swift during today's game. Well, I know that based on this sentence, I am describing the soccer player using different words. Agile, swift. So I have 3 items in my series to describe this player. So I know that I'm going to put a comma after quick and a comma after adverb, because you never need a comma after your conjunction. All right, next one, simile or metaphor, and what is meaning? So it says her face is red as a beet when the comedian asked her to come to the stage. Well, I see those key words right here that tell me that this is going to be a simile. Now, what does this mean? This is going to mean that, I'm going to write it outside here because there's not much space. She was embarrassed. Because if your face is turning red when someone's talking to you, you're going to be nervous or embarrassed. It's going to make you feel a little uncomfortable. All right, next one. Tell if the underlined verb is perfect past, present, or future tense. Well, we've worked with this quite a bit. So when you get to my house, I will have been there already. Well, just looking at this, we know if it begins will have, that's automatically going to tell us that it has not happened yet, but it's going to at some point. That tells us that it would be future perfect. Now, if I changed my sentence to when you get to my house, I had been there already, that would become past. If you changed it to when you get to my house, I have been there already, that would make it present perfect. But in this case, will have means it's going to happen in the future. Next one, add a comma. We are leaving for lunch soon, aren't we? All right, well, in this sentence, I see my statement being made. We are leaving for lunch soon. Then it ends with a question about that statement, which we call a tag question. So I know that I separate my statement with the question by putting a comma between the two. And our last one on Monday, write the meaning of the root phobe or phobia. So in this case, anything that ends with phobe, phobia, or has it somewhere mixed in the word, it's going to mean you're fear of, or it could mean one who fears. Okay, I'll pause for just a second and then we will move on to Tuesday. All right, find that first box on Tuesday. It says sort the words. You're looking for words with roots that mean ruled by or ruler, or roots that are foot and feet. So I know that ruled by or ruler, I'm going to look for anything that has cracked as the root. So you're looking back to this box on Monday. So the words I see here that would fit into that box would be Democrat and plutocrat. And I'm going to underline those roots so you remember what they are. All right, so then foot and feet, we know that we're looking for the root head. So if I look back at this list right here, I'm going to say quadruped, and I'm going to say pedometer. So again, I'm going to underline those roots that I'm looking for. All right, so that next one, which word best completes the sentence? I am trying to get in shape, so I'm using a blank to keep count of my steps. Well, remember with these, we are looking back to this list of words, kind of use it as your word bank. So out of those words, one here talking about counting your steps. If we look back up here, we know that we're looking for steps, so that'd be with foot or feet. So in this case, the word pedometer. All right, which word or phrase best completes the sentence? We have finally, nevertheless, and for example. Our sentence says, it is easy to adopt a pet, blank, it took my friend only 30 minutes to adopt her dog. All right, so in this case, finally would not really make sense here because you're saying it's easy to adopt a pet. Finally, it only took 30 minutes. It just doesn't go together. Nevertheless, would be kind of the same. It's not really making a ton of sense here. However, if I put words for example in that sentence, easy to adopt a pet, and then I'm giving you an example of how easy it is. So it would be for example in this case. The next one, which word can mean to crush and a vegetable. So we have two different definitions here. We need to make sure the word matches both of them. Your choices are squash, smash, and carrots. Well, I know that squash would be a vegetable. You can also squash something, so that would be crushing it. Right now, this one looks like it might be our best choice, so let's check the others. Smash would be to crush, but that's not a type of vegetable, so let's go ahead and mark that out. And then our last one is carrot. Well, that is a vegetable, but that has nothing to do with crushing something. So squash would be our correct answer. All right, the next one, what does the adage or proverb mean? It says, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. So this is just another way of saying, if you help me, then I will help you. So if you do something for me, I'll do something for you in return. Okay, next one, complete the sentence. After school, Carlos blank 2 miles and lifts weights. All right, so we need to find a word that would make sense in this sentence. So if we're talking about 2 miles, obviously we're talking about Carlos running. So after school, Carlos runs 2 miles and lifts weights. And make sure, since this verb right here is in present tense, you also make this one in present tense. Remember what we talked about? We need our verbs to agree. Okay, the next one, write the meaning of the underlined word. It says, unlike most children's dirty bedrooms, hers was impeccable. All right, so if you don't know what the word impeccable means, you can use your context clues from this sentence to figure it out. Unlike most children's dirty bedrooms. So we're talking about the opposite of dirty bedroom. So hers was impeccable. So in this case, impeccable is going to be perfect. So it's well taken care of, it's clean, it's organized, it's neat, things like that. All right, then our last one on Tuesday, make a list of words with the root phobe or phobia. So here you could have listed several different words. So I'm just going to give you one example. In this case, I'm going to write the word pyrophobia. So this word, we have phobia, which we know is fear of, based on what we saw here. And pyro in this case would be a word meaning fire. So this would be a fear of fire. All right, wait just a minute, and then I will move on to Wednesday. All right, so on Wednesday, we have a box that is similar to what we saw on Tuesday. So we need to sort the words by roots that they have. So in this case, time is the first one, and then alone, only, or one would be the second. Well, I know that if I'm looking for a root or roots that mean time, I'm going to look for cron or temp. So in this case, looking back to this list of words, I see chronometer, and I also see temporary. So I'm going to underline those roots that tell me that they mean time. Now we need to look at alone, only, and one. Well, I know that roots that would mean only or alone or one would be sole or mono. So the words that I see for our list here that fit into that would be monotone and solitary. So I'm going to underline that that way we remember why we put them in the correct boxes. All right, next one. Which word means a speech in which every word has one tone of voice? Okay, so again, we're looking back to these words that we've used. So one tone of voice. Well, I know that if I'm talking about one, I really need to focus on the words in this box right here. So out of those, monotone would be the one that I'm looking for to mean the same or one tone of voice. All right, next we have one where we need to improve the sentence. We're either going to expand, combine, or reduce. So it says, the funny comedian who is really funny made me laugh. Well, I automatically see here that this is kind of repeating itself. The funny comedian who is really funny. Well, if I already said the funny comedian is doing something, I don't need to say who is really funny. So I'm going to take out who is really funny and that comma. So this would mean that I am going to reduce the sentence and taking information out. So now I'm left with the funny comedian made me laugh. That comma as well. All right, next one, we are working with titles. Rewrite the title using the correct formatting. Well, I have Springtime, which is a book of poems. So it does not say that it is just a poem, it is a book of poems. So it's the title of the whole book. So I know that I would need to underline this title because it is the entire book title. Now, if you were typing it, you could also italicize it, but since we're writing here, you need to underline. Okay, circle the parts of speech of the word play. Okay, so it says play, then it has our pronunciation. First definition is a verb, engage in an activity for enjoyment. And the second definition would be how it's used as a noun, a dramatic performance. So I know that my parts of speech would be verb and noun. Okay, complete the sentence with the correct perfect present tense. So they blank in Florida for 7 years. So I'm changing the word live to become perfect present tense. So I know automatically that it's going to be live because you have a past tense verb, but I need to figure out what goes here before it. So perfect present. So it's either going to be has or have. So they has lived in Florida for 7 years, or they have lived in Florida for 7 years. Well, just by saying that out loud, I know that have is the one that makes the most sense here. All right, we are adding a comma to this next sentence. Yes, we are leaving in 5 minutes. Well, I know that yes would be one of those necessity elements, so a comma would follow that. And then lastly, on Wednesday, write the meaning of the underlined word. After you ran from the spider, I knew you suffered from arachnophobia. All right, well, we know that phobia would be the fear of something. So we'll go ahead and put fear of. Now we need to figure out this arachnid part right here. Well, if I look at the sentence, it's talking about running from a spider. So by using my context clues, I can just go ahead and say that it would be a fear of spiders. All right, just a second, and we will move on to Thursday. All right, so I see another one of these charts here. This time we have break, and then our next one would be lead, take, or bring. So again, we're looking for roots that have these meanings so we can sort the words correctly. Well, I know to break, the root would be rupt. So if I look back to this list of words right here in that first box, anything with rupt, I'm going to see rupture. And I'm also going to see the word bankrupt. So I want to make sure I underline those roots so I know exactly why I put it in the box. And then this last one, lead, take, or bring. The root I'm looking for here would be duct or duct. So I have deduction. And I also have reduce. So there would be that root. All right, so next one, which word best completes the sentence? So again, we are still looking at this box up here. She is blank because she doesn't have enough money to pay her expenses. All right, so the only word here that would make sense would be the word bankrupt. Because if you are bankrupt, there's not enough money. Next box, where does the comma go? In addition, she also adopted a cat. All right, well, if I have this sentence here, I know that I'm saying, in addition, she also adopted a cat. I know that my comma is going to separate this piece here with the rest of the statement that I'm making. Next box, which word could replace the underlined word? We have quickly, gracefully, and slowly. He ran sluggishly to second base. Well, if we're talking about someone moving sluggishly, trying to think of the word slug, because that's even in it. So we know that slugs are not going to move quickly. They're really not going to move gracefully either. However, we could say he ran slowly. Next one, which definition of play is being used in the sentence? So remember, we're looking back to this box right here with our two definitions. The baby loves to play with his rattle. All right, well, I know that it's talking about the baby loves to play. So the baby is doing something. So even if I didn't look at the definitions, I could just look at the parts of speech and tell you it's going to be whichever one belongs with a verb because that's an action. But let's read it and make sure. Engage in an activity for enjoyment. So that definition does match as well. So that's going to be definition number 1. All right, complete the sentence. All the fans blank and cheer as the player scores. All right, so you could choose several different words here, but it needs to be something that makes sense with what fans would be doing when a player in a game would score. So we know that we have cheer, which is currently in the present tense. So I'm going to say all the fans shout and cheer. Okay, next one, highlight the part of the sentence that helped you find the meaning of the underlined word. Unlike most children's dirty bedrooms, hers was impeccable. Well, we kind of talked about this a little bit over here. We know that we like the dirty bedrooms. You wanted to find the opposite of what the children's dirty bedrooms usually are. And hers is much cleaner. It's in perfect condition. It's much more organized. So this first part right here would be what would help you figure out the meaning. And our last box here, write the meaning of the underlined word. I can't ride in elevators because I have claustrophobia. All right, well, we're using that phobia again. I'm going to go ahead and write fear of, because we know that it's some kind of fear. Now, this part right here is what we need to figure out. I can't ride in elevators because I have claustrophobia. Well, we know that an elevator is a little tiny space. It's not very large. There's not a lot of room. So I'm going to say a fear of small spaces.